UFC Fight Night Vegas 51, Volkov versus Aspinall takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, and what an amazing card this is in the UFC's return to London. Stacked top to bottom. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Nathaniel Wood versus Vince Morales. I think this is a no-brainer. I'm going with Nathaniel Wood. Even if Vince Morales took this fight on full camp, I'd still side with Nathaniel Wood. He builds as the fight goes on. There is a problem at times with his chin. I don't think Vince Morales has too much power in his hands. He does have a KO victory in his career and some KO victories, of course, but it's not like every time he touches someone they go to sleep. He's not like a vicious KO artist. He can grind out some close decisions in his career, and I do believe that you can't beat Nathaniel Wood that way. You have to have some kind of power like a John Dodson has. I thought Nathaniel Wood beat Casey Kenny in rounds 2 and 3, and he took that fight on short notice as well, and Casey Kenny's a very good contender considering how good he looked against Song Yadong, who's now looking amazing in the bantamweight division. And I think Nathaniel Wood is going to go out there, tune up Vince Morales really badly. Not only that, but John Castaneda has now started to look really good in his own right in the bantamweight division. He's now on a 2-fight win streak, just beat Miles Johns. Before that, TKO'd Eddie Wineland. He even TKO'd Miles Johns, I believe, in that fight as well. Nathaniel Wood is looking really good in hindsight with a lot of his performances, and I think he is one of those top guys in the bantamweight division, but his ranking just doesn't represent that because he hasn't quite got the wins yet. However, I think he's going to go out there, piece apart Vince Morales, and I reckon he's going to get a KO at some point in round 2 here. I think he chops up the legs of Vince Morales in round 1, starts to weaken him, starts to beat him up badly, and then finishes him off in round 2 when Vince Morales gets desperate to change the tide. And I think Nathaniel Wood gets this one done by second round TKO to kick off the card. Moving on up the card, Cory McKenna versus Elise Reed. I'm going to go with Elise Reed here as a big underdog. People are picking Cory McKenna. Massive amounts of people on Tapology are picking Cory McKenna. I think somewhere like 90%. I'm not seeing anything too amazing out of her, in all honesty. And Elise Reed, in my opinion, upon watching both of them, looks like the more technical striker, has good grappling. I know she got completely decimated in her UFC debut on short notice against Ciara Eubanks, which is almost like a man. So I don't take too much away from her for losing to Ciara Eubanks up 2 weight classes, I believe, in the bantamweight division as well. I don't take too much away from her there. She's very good. She was undefeated 4-0. If she didn't take that fight on short notice against Eubanks and just got into the UFC regularly, I think the odds would be completely different in this matchup. I'm not judging her for that loss. Much bigger opponent on short notice. She saved the day. I'm going to go with Elise Reed here over Cory McKenna as a big underdog because Cory McKenna is making it look close against Kay Hansen. She made it look close against another opponent that she took on in her career that was recently the woman who jumped into the arms of Joe Rogan. I can't quite remember her name. Vanessa Demopoulos is her name. She had a really close fight with her as well on the Contender Series, barely eking out these decisions against some of these fighters just by doing barely more than them in total strikes on the ground. I think Elise Reed's got good takedown defense. She's got like a menstrual rage because she's getting to the point where she's got to have kids soon. If she doesn't have kids, it's going to be all over. So she's got that sort of menstrual cycle rage and fury within her that she knows that her time is running out. She needs to make something happen now. Whereas Cory McKenna is a ditzy young girl. She's not going to have the grit that a woman who's going through the menstrual cycle like Elise Reed is right now. So I'm going to side with Elise Reed as an underdog here. She beat Jasmine Jasuda-Vicious on the regional scene, which is a good win because Jasmine Jasuda-Vicious just beat, I believe, Kay Hansen and looked very impressive against her. More impressive than Cory McKenna, I would say, and on an improved Kay Hansen who had longer time to prepare. I think Elise Reed gets the upset here. More efficient striking, better striking technique. She's got a reach advantage on the feet. She's got a height advantage as well, and she's got that menstrual rage. So I'm going to go with Elise Reed getting this one done. By decision, split decision, I would say. Moving on up the card, Mike Grundy versus Makwan Amirkhani. I'm going to go with Mike Grundy here over Makwan Amirkhani. Grundy looked good against Evloev. He had a moment in the first round. Now, I know I'm not going to judge this entire fight based on that, but I do believe that Mike Grundy's grappling is his strong point. And I think they're pretty even on the feet. And I think Makwan Amirkhani just does not have the grit and the gas tank in order to be successful in this game. And that's as simple as it is. Mike Grundy's probably fighting for his career here. Same situation with Makwan Amirkhani. Grundy looked okay in moments against Lando Venata, had control time there, managed to get a couple of takedowns, and showed good durability over the 3 rounds. Where I feel like Makwan Amirkhani just does not have that level of durability whatsoever. And I can see Mike Grundy maybe getting out grappled in the first round, but scrambling out of some close submission attempts, and I can see Makwan Amirkhani fading as the fight goes on. And we saw in his fight against Nad Narimani, Mike Grundy's got some decent hands when he wants to, so I think he's going to go out there, survive an early onslaught of being out grappled maybe, and out strengthed and out muscled in the first round, make it a little bit more of a closer fight in round 2 where he gets his own moments in the grappling, and then Makwan's gassed out in round 3 and Mike Grundy puts him away, standing TKO against a cage. 3rd round TKO for Mike Grundy is my prediction there. Moving on up the card, Mohamed Mokaev versus Cody Durden. Okay, Mohamed Mokaev. We finally get the debut of Mokaev here. Been singing this guy's praises for a very long time. I feel like for the past couple of years at least, last 3 years I would say, I've been talking about Mohamed Mokaev even when he was an amateur. Has such an extensive amateur career in MMA with a bunch of experience. Even if you look at this guy as a young guy coming in, 6-0, does not tell the tale of his experience levels in the sport whatsoever. He's got a great regional career. He's got a great pro career as well. He has fought a couple of guys that have given him some problems. Blaine O'Driscoll gave him a couple of problems here and there. I do believe he does get the win over Cody Durden, but I think it's going to be a very close fight, and I can see Cody Durden winning the 3rd round here. I think it's going to be a 29-28 decision that's very competitive, where Mohamed Mokaev wins the first 2 rounds, outstriking Durden on the feet, out-grappling him, maybe he gets his back and Durden survives and fights off rear naked choke attempts in round 2 or something. Then round 3, I can see Cody Durden pushing back with his cardio, maybe having a good showing in round 3, but Mohamed Mokaev's going to get the job done, 29-28. I think he's a very good prospect, but I don't think this is like an easy win for him in any way whatsoever. Not at all, in fact. I don't see this as an easy win. This is a really tough test for him. Arguably the best opponent he's ever taken on in his career. And he has had some problems on the regional scene with certain opponents that have given him some moments of problems. Even if he hasn't been like losing on the regional scene, there's been opponents that have put him in positions to where he has had some problems. He's not like a guy destroying everyone like Chimaev on the come up. But I do believe that Mohamed Mokaev's going to get this one done by decision, 29-28, winning himself the first 2 rounds. Cody Durden's good, just a little bit outmatched here against Mokaev, who's a really hot prospect coming up, and I think he gets this one done by decision. Moving on, up the card, Molly McCann versus Luana Carolina. A part of me I'm going to go Luana Carolina here. I don't know what demon just came out of me. I can't go with Molly McCann. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. Luana Carolina's really big for the division. She's young, 28 years of age, still on the come up in her career. She's got a lot of experience now. She just beat Lupita Godinez, who I believe is a better technical fighter than Molly McCann, a better grappler than her. Maybe on the feet, Molly McCann could have a chance, but I think Luana Carolina is going to be too big. She's got a 7-inch reach advantage here. 7-inch reach advantage here. I know that's typically the case in Molly McCann's fights, but I'm going to go with the upset for Luana Carolina. I can't believe that Molly McCann is so big of a favourite. And I also can't believe that so many people are picking her. You know what I think it is on Tapology? People are mass picking Paddy Pimblett. And because they recognise Molly McCann, they're all just picking her as well because she's part of the Scouse crew that Paddy Pimblett's coming up in. I think Luana Carolina gets this one done. She's longer, she's got good kicks, she was able to stuff takedowns when she needed to against Lupita Godinez, so I don't see Molly McCann out-grappling her at any moments here. In fact, I can see Luana Carolina out-grappling Molly McCann, and I just think she's going to be way too rangy on the feet. She's got good cardio, she's massive for the division, she's younger. I reckon she gets this one done, 29-28, split decision, goes in her favour. She arguably should have won anyway, but they're going to do a split decision because we're in the UK, and get ready for some biased judging, in my opinion, after what happened with Josh Taylor versus fucking whoever that other guy was. That's how bad it is. I don't even remember the guy's name, but he got robbed badly against Josh Taylor. Either way, Luana Carolina gets the upset here. I'm picking another underdog in a women's MMA fight. Wish me luck, boys. Women's MMA is pretty hard to predict. Moving on up the card, Jack Shaw versus Timur Valiev. I'm going to go with Jack Shaw as an underdog again here against Timur Valiev. A lot of people are picking this one, though. He was a bigger underdog to begin with, but now those odds have closed up a little bit. I think the odds makers are thinking, oh, fuck, maybe we judged this one wrong, because a lot of people are going with Jack Shaw here. And I'm going with Jack Shaw as well. Timur Valiev has shown some problems in his career, whereas Jack Shaw... Hunter Azure did stuff a couple of takedowns, but it still didn't stop Jack Shaw from getting to dominant positions where he was controlling the fight. And I think against a guy like Timur Valiev, if Jack Shaw can put like a really grinding, grappling pace on him against a cage and work him against a cage by being a taller man, I think Timur Valiev might start to slow down. We've seen him slow down in his career, especially against Trevin Jones, which led to him getting clipped in the second round and finished off badly. He's also been beaten in a split decision against Chris Gutierrez that was close earlier on the regional scene. He came back to avenge that loss afterwards. But either way, Timur Valiev, very, very good prospect. But after what Victor Henry did to Raoni Barcelos, arguably fighting to a draw against Raoni Barcelos don't look that good anymore. He got dropped twice in that fight. Chin might be a bit of a problem. Grappling, I think he's going to be okay early on, but if Shaw keeps pushing him against the cage and keeps grinding on him and keeps dragging him down, putting one hook in, landing a couple of shots, kneeing him to the body, taking him down again, I can see Jack Shaw wearing on him, and I can see Timur Valiev eventually giving up a rear naked choke in round 2 or 3. I think I'll go with a third round rear naked choke for Jack Shaw. Maybe he loses the first round on strikes, wins the second round on the grappling. Valiev starting to slow down from defending so many takedowns from Jack Shaw, and I think the younger guy who's undefeated is going to have more in the tank to push in the later rounds. No pun intended, by the way. More in the tank in the later rounds, and I reckon he gets a rear naked choke in round 3 on Timur Valiev with his back taken against a cage. Jack Shaw gets this one done. Plus, he's got a reach advantage. Massive reach for his size. 5'7", 71-inch reach to a 67-inch reach of Timur Valiev. He's the bigger guy in general. He's younger, more to improve on. He dominated his last opponent with a shoulder torn out of place in the middle of the fight. So I'm going to go with Jack Shaw here. With his A game, I reckon he beats Timur Valiev by rear naked choke as the upset. Moving on up the card, Jai Herbert versus Ilia Topuria. I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. The odds should not be what they are. Topuria can grapple, which gives me some confidence here, but Jai Herbert's a very good fighter. It's just his chin that I worry about. So I could see Ilia Topuria going out there and making quick work of him by KO. That's probably what I'm going to pick him to do, but the odds should not be as swayed as they are and as completely misrepresented as they are. Like, this is a decently competitive fight. I think Topuria should be like just over a 2-1 favorite. I believe he's something ridiculously in the favorite in terms of his fight with Jai Herbert here. But the only problem is Jai Herbert's not very a physical lightweight. So where you would have a worry about a guy moving up, maybe getting out-muscled, out-moved. Like, if Ilia Topuria was moving up against Clay Guida, there'd be, like, a bit of a worry, like, oh, maybe he gets out-muscled here, who knows? Bigger opponent, much bigger guy. Jai Herbert is a malnourished lightweight, has no strength in him whatsoever. I mean, he really easily gets manipulated on the ground whenever he does end up there. And his chin's not the best either, so if he was a bit more physical, if he had a bit of a better chin and a bit of a better genetics to just be a bit stronger in general, I actually wouldn't mind his chances against Ilia Topuria, but I think this is a bad one for him. Topuria, coming up a weight class, I think he'll be rejuvenated, chin better than ever, and his skill level, in my opinion, is above that of Jai Herbert. Chin better, power better. Ilia Topuria, I'll say first round TKO against Jai Herbert here. But I could see an upset. That's another upset you got to watch out for on this card, as well as Makwan Amirkhani. A lot of good underdogs here on the prelims. Moving on up the card to the main card, Nikita Krylov versus Paul Craig. Speaking of good underdogs, majority of people are picking Paul Craig here as an underdog. I mean, the odds are good, but are people picking him because he's an underdog? I think so. Nikita Krylov's really fucking good, man. He's really, really good. Look at his performance against Magomed Ankalaev. He outlanded him and out-fucking grappled him in round 1. He went to a split decision with Glover Teixeira, which solely went Teixeira's way because he ended in a dominant position in the rounds that he needed to on top of Nikita Krylov. Like, it was a pretty even fight that Glover finished in a better position for the judges. Very close, and that was a grappling-heavy match. Krylov held his own in the grappling. I know he got submitted by Jan Blachowicz because MMA makes no fucking sense. sense. But either way, I think he's very good. I think if you look at the two of their performances against Magomed Ankalaev, I know Krylov lost and Craig won, but I would still argue Krylov had a better performance. Craig got dominated in that fight quite badly. Had some moments of success. It's not like he was 10-8 and he was getting 10-8 rounded every now and again, every round of the fight. But Nikita Krylov held his own. He's improving. He's a young guy in his career. Paul Craig has already mentioned retirement. He's 34. He's had damage in fights. He has already said he is retiring when he turns 35. Red fucking flag. Nikita Krylov, Ukraine, with that Ukrainian passion right now. I think he's going to get this one done. 30 years of age. He's got a reach advantage. He's got power on the feet. He's got good kicks on the feet as well. I don't see Paul Craig out-grappling him to the point where he's shooting on Krylov. I could see Krylov maybe out-grappling Craig and then getting subbed off bottom. But I think he keeps it standing. And I'm going to call a first-round TKO for Nikita Krylov here on the feet. Because let's not forget, when Paul Craig gets hit good on that chin, he typically goes down. So I'm going to go with Nikita Krylov. Paul Craig, very good. His wins are aging really well. I think he's a tad bit of an overperformer here and there with some of his finishes. So I'm going to go with the more consistently good Nikita Krylov to get this one done by TKO. Moving on up the card, Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Sergey Pavlovich. I am going to go with Sergey Pavlovich here over Shamil Abdurakhimov. The guy's a physical freak. I thought he was on roids on the regional scene, but if he comes in anywhere near the same shape that he's usually in, I think he is going to dismantle Shamil Abdurakhimov here. Abdurakhimov's been KO'd, twice in his last fight against Dorcas. KO'd multiple times before that as well. He's taken his damage, got the shit beaten out of him by Curtis Blades as well. I know these are good fighters, but I think Sergey Pavlovich, 14-1, great prospect in his own right. Lost to Overeem in his debut because it's a fucking tough debut, but the reason why they gave him that debut is because of how good he looked as a 14-0 prospect on the regional scene. 84-inch reach. He's got an 8-inch reach advantage over... That is crazy. And he's white. He's white. I know, I'm not trying to get into anything here, but, that's fucking crazy. He's 6'2". 84-inch reach. Caucasian. This is... this guy, I think, has got real potential physically to do really well in the heavyweight division. He's bigger than Shamil. He's stronger than Shamil. He's faster than Shamil. Can Shamil maybe take him into later waters and drown him there in the later rounds by getting on top of him? Maybe. As far as it goes in the first round, Pavlovich has a massive advantage. I'm going to call a first round KO for him over Shamil Abdurakhimov. Pavlovich gets this one done. Superior Russian over Abdurakhimov. Moving on, up the card, Gunnar Nelson versus Takashi Sato. It's tempting. He's been out for a while, and he has been chinned before. And Alex Oliveira was beating him up in round 1. I'm going to go Gunnar Nelson, but I'm going to say that he gets dropped badly in round 1 and has to really fight back into it. I think Sato's going to be real patient early. Same with Gunnar Nelson. They're easing into the fight. They make an exchange halfway through the first round. Sato catches him, drops him all of a sudden. Gunnar Nelson immediately responds, gets a takedown, cruises out the round, and then round 2 and 3, with Sato taking this fight on short notice, I can see Gunnar Nelson riding out the second and third round, and eventually getting a rear naked choke at either the end of the second or the third. I think is what's going to happen here. So I'm going to call a Gunnar Nelson rear naked choke, late second round or third round. But Takashi Sato's going to crack him hard in the first and maybe put him down and remind him oh fuck, I have been out for a while and I'm a bit jittery. And I think that's going to happen. So I think there's going to be a first round scare that Gunnar Nelson's going to lose and there's going to be an upset win. But I think he bounces back like he did against Alex Oliveira. And I think he's going to bounce back, eventually get a TKO or a submission by rear naked choke. Rounds 2 or 3. Gunnar Nelson gets this one done. And also his last few losses aren't looking too bad. Split decision to Leon Edwards. Arguably should have lost 29-28, but still very, very close fight. Also he lost to Gilbert Burns in a very close fight there as well. If Burns can't put you away in the first, I don't think Sato can. I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson. Submission. Late round 2, I'll say. Moving on, up the card, Paddy Pimblett versus Rodrigo Vargas. Now, I think Paddy Pimblett's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win it by submission in the first round. I think they're going to be scrapping on the feet. I think Vargas is going to close the distance for a clinch. Pimblett's going to hip toss him over, take his back on the ground, pound him out. Vargas gives up the neck. in goes the choke for Paddy Pimblett. I think it's going to be like a late first round after some moments back and forth early. I think it's going to be a late first round submission for Paddy Pimblett. But should he be a 4-1 favourite? No. The star power is driving those odds. He should be a slightly 2-1 favourite. Slightly over 2-1 favourite, maybe. Rodrigo Vargas is a good prospect in his own right. He's had good competition in his career so far. He's lost some fights. He's a bigger guy as well. I'm just going to go through his recent history, so give me a second here. But Rodrigo Vargas, he beat Brock Weaver but got DQ'd for it. But he beat Brock Weaver. He kneed him in the face, I get it. But still, he was beating Brock Weaver. He just beat Rongju, who isn't the best. We just saw him get dominated by Ignacio Bahamondes, but is still good. He lost to Alex De Silva as well. So some of these losses aren't looking too good. Some of his wins, even on the regional scene, aren't looking too good. But at the end of the day, he's still a 12-4 prospect. And I am hearing a lot of the Scousers don't get knocked out and all that stuff from Paddy Pimblett. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I've seen you dropped so badly on the regional scene. So many times. A few occasions. There's one fight, I can't remember the guy's name, but he genuinely switched off the lights on Pimblett. Pimblett comes back 2 on the ground and eventually fights his way to a victory with an elbow at the end of the first round, so that will help you find the one I'm talking about. I think his name was Steven. It had Steven in the name somewhere. But he can be chinned, and it is a risky prospect to bank on going far because of the risky style that he has. But he's got a good chin. Vargas, I think there's going to be problems in the grappling for him here. I think people are now sort of seeing Paddy Pimblett as a striker because he said he wanted a first round KO in his debut, and that's what he got. But I think the grappling skills are going to show here. They're going to go back and forth on the feet. Both guys are going to land some big shots. Paddy's going to land a bigger shot on Vargas. Try and jump knee or something. Vargas gets to clinch. Pimblett throws him over with a hip toss. Ends up on top. Takes mount. Pounds him away. Vargas turns his back. Gives up his back. Paddy Pimblett pound him behind the ears. Vargas gives up his neck. Rear naked choke Paddy Pimblett round 1. But it's risky. Vargas is pretty good. Moving on up the card. Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen here. He was an underdog to begin with. I'm so sad I didn't put money on him then. He's now evens with Dan Hooker. No idea why. Should be a bit of a favourite here. Like, if you're putting Paddy Pimblett 4-1 over Vargas, you know what I mean? Like, you're putting some of these odds the way you're putting them. Gunnar Nelson over 3-1 odds on Takashi Sato as a favourite. Allen not even a favourite. Dan Hooker's first time back at 145. He got dominated in his last fight against Islam Makhachev. Never verbally or actually tapped, but he still got dominated. It would have been a finish, arguably, anyway. Either way, I feel like Dan Hooker's going to get sparked out here in round 1. I'm going with Arnold Allen getting a first round KO. I know it sounds crazy. Arnold Allen doesn't have any KOs on his career so far, but he does have heat in his shots. Put down Sadiq Youssef a couple of times. Hurt a bunch of other opponents. He hurt Makwan Amirkhani at the end of the third, which got him that victory over Makwan back in the day when he was like 22 years of age or something like that. He's still young, still improving, at a good gym, and I reckon he's going to go out there. Dan Hooker doesn't move his head too well, man. I love Dan Hooker, one of my favourite fighters. Doesn't move his head off the centre line too well, so I can really see him trying to keep the range and just getting fucking lit up badly in the first round, going down and getting TKO'd in the first in his return to 145 pounds. I think Arnold Allen's the improving guy, the younger guy. He's got way more to learn. He's had a bit of time off again, and every time we see him, he gets better and better. There is a reach advantage for Dan Hooker here, but you're giving me even odds when there's so much on the unknown of Dan Hooker. Where's he at in his career right now? Does he really want a second run at a title at featherweight? I'm sure he does, but how's he going to look after the weigh-in? A lot of weight to cut for a guy who, in my opinion, I was thinking if there was any move of division he should make after lightweight, it should have been welterweight. He's moving down to featherweight. Doesn't move his head too well. I think he's going to get clipped in the first round by Arnold Allen and put away, in my opinion. Arnold Allen gets this one done against Dan Hooker. First round finish. Moving on up the card. Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall here. Again, you've given me evens. It was originally an underdog for Tom Aspinall. Would have picked him there anyway. This is a very close fight. Volkov does have the ability to just land a great couple of front kicks to the body and then change things and take it into the later rounds and eventually wear on Tom Aspinall and take him away there. And Aspinall's never been past the second round or the start of the second round in his entire career, at least in his UFC career where it really matters. He's also never fought in front of a crowd before, which is a big deal. He's fought in some crowds at Cage Warriors, but that ain't the same. Like, back then, when he was on Cage Warriors, it's like a half-filled-up room of people. I think there's going to be some big nerves early, but I don't think Volkov wins. I still believe Aspinall's going to overcome that. So I understand why the odds can give Volkov a bit of favour early on, just because of all the unknown with Aspinall. But I do believe he's going to rise to the occasion. His gym's now entirely focusing on him, which is a big deal because, of course, they had Darren Till before, but Darren Till's now left the gym. So the whole gym of Team Cowborn must be like, right, this is our new guy. Let's put most of our attention on Tom Aspinall. Little bit of attention on Mike fucking Grundy, but a lot of attention on Tom Aspinall, I would argue. So I think he's going to do better than ever, and I think he's going to crack Volkov out of there in the first round by TKO. And I think he has a great performance. This is shaping up to be an amazing card full of finishes. Really great card to come back to. But I am going to go with Tom Aspinall. Pink, pink, 1-2. Straight on the chin of Volkov. Volkov goes down. If Lewis can find the shot, I think Aspinall can as well. And also, maybe I would have went with Volkov or sided a bit more with him. But his last fight against Topuria, I get it, Topuria has a frustrating style where he wears on you and drags you down and takes you into deep water and makes it a smothering contest. Man, I didn't like what I saw from Volkov in that fucking Topuria fight. I'll be honest with you. Aspinall's got grappling. He was actually a grappler heavy guy first, black belt in jiu-jitsu. His dad was one of the first jiu-jitsu black belts in the UK or something like that. And I think Alexander Volkov's going to be in for a rude awakening here. Tom Aspinall, too fast, too quick. Pap, pap. 1-2, right down the pipe. Volkov folds. Follow-up shots from Aspinall. First round TKO. And plus, if it goes to a decision, they'll probably just give it to him anyway. I hate to, bet on things like robberies, but, it's likely they'll give it to Aspinall. We need some UK talent, so they ain't going to side with the Russian right now in the UK, I'm telling you. The judges ain't going to be like, let's do the Russian a favour. They probably won't, so I'm going with Tom Aspinall first round TKO. Plus, his wins have looked amazing in hindsight. Some of the best aged wins in the UFC. I thought Jake Collier was a fat disgrace. He's now doing really good, winning a lot of fights. Looking amazingly great technically. Aspinall destroyed him within a minute and made me think he was some fat waste of space. Aspinall. Arlovsky. Maybe Arlovsky's done. Aspinall took a couple of big shots. Maybe Arlovsky's done. Arlovsky's now on a winning streak. Multiple fight win streak after that against some decent prospects in the UFC. Beating all of them. It shows that Aspinall is among the top contenders in the heavyweight division. And his other wins, like Alan Badeau, looked decent in his last fight as well. And Aspinall immediately obliterated him on the ground. I just think Sergey Spivak just ragdolled Greg Hardy in the first round. Has a bunch of good wins in his career as well. Aspinall obliterated him in the first round. I'm going to trust in Aspinall to get this one done. A changing of the guard is happening at heavyweight, in my opinion, right now. And Volkov's going to have to take this one on the chin. Quite literally. Aspinall first round KO. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip.